just got on YouTube. This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review the 6th album by rapper Trick Daddy. Basically, this project is called Thug Matrimony, Married to the Streets, and it came out in the fall of 2004. So the thing about this particular project is this project was seen as Trick Daddy's largest album. Now, this album only went gold, which is an unfortunate aspect because it's a pretty vicious type album in terms of the quality behind it. Definitely impactful. Had 3 singles on here within the pitch behind it, but Trick Daddy normally would get like at least one, usually at least one single, sometimes 2 or even 3 in minor cases, but for the most part he'd always get like a couple singles off of his albums. The album before this one, or the couple albums before this one, he had a relatively large 2001 album with the song I'm a Thug on there, which was some pretty good appeals about that. I do remember this album quite a bit back in the day. This is probably like the crest of Trick Daddy's popularity, considering that he had been around since like the late 90s as far as this pitch is going to happen. He also had a pretty good album in 2006, which I reviewed back in the spring of 2024. There's just some extra kind of excellent type pitches about this particular product. This really has some excellent type appeal just about it. It's full bound. These have like probably some of his most notable singles in terms of the most commercial ready nowadays, I'd have to say. Definitely the song Let's Go is like Trick Daddy's highest charting single, the one that probably has the most popularity. Trick Daddy really capitalized on the trend of like Lil Jon's popularity in 2004, along with a great Crazy Train sample by Ozzy Osbourne. So has some excellent type pitches, just made into like a real crunk and ready to go type club heater. And then Sugar Give Me Some was an excellent type fare as well. Ludacris really tore apart this particular song. It's just some excellent typeness. It's a real catchy and overall summery bop. And then the song J.O.D.D. Jump on the Dick is an underappreciated type one that was in some good movies like The 40-Year-Old Virgin and Into the Blue. So it's just kind of within the pitch behind it as far as particularly kind of saying that this just had some overall good appeals just within the fare behind it. But this would probably be, I'd have to say, Trick Daddy's apex. Now, he did drop a couple albums later, like I talked about. The 2006 one was pretty rock solid, even though I think I gave that album like an 8.75, something like that. I mean, it was mostly good. This is a little bit better. This is damn near a classic just within the pitch behind it. I definitely say there's more blistering songs on here than there aren't. Basically, out of the 15 songs, there's 17 songs in this album, but minus the intro and a skit that narrows it down to 15. Out of the 15, I wound up recommending 12. So it's an arguable whether or not the concept. I mean, the thing about it, I would have to say, is just within the pitch behind it, is just questioning where the concept of like whether or not 12 out of 15, when I usually give an album 3 songs once it's at about 15 songs or so, whether or not it'd be a 10 out of 10. So it's probably going to be like a 9.5. But we'll just go ahead and get to some of this. This is like Trick Daddy in his prime, just to keep saying this within the pitch behind this, the aspect of being able to say that he was probably on some of his most comfortable productions. It didn't reek of like 90s type fare and more sketchy type productions, or more kind of skeletal minimalist type fare. And as much as I did like Thugs R Us from 2001, I think that album didn't have as much full-blown heat, with the exception of like the lead single, maybe a couple others like I'm a Thug, some of those type of pitches. And it's the same thing with his 2002 album. I want to get to Thug Holiday at some stage. That's definitely, I think that has some nice relative gems on there. I don't remember that album is full bound, but I did have like some mild kind of introductions to Trick Daddy's early 2000s albums in like the past, just within a relative type fare. But this is definitely like, once again, a crowning type one, just on the concept of just being pretty much on the cusp of being a 10 out of 10, just within, depending on how here and there I feel like with being like generous as far as those fares going to happen. But it's definitely going to get over a 9 out of 10. So just to be able to say, nowadays Wikipedia does not list that there were 3 singles off this product, but I count as if there were 3, because I do think that Jump on the Deck, even despite the fact that it was not necessarily like a hugely kind of marketable type single, is just within the pitch. I think this was at least attempted back in the day. I want to say that this was back in like the MTV music video VH1 type days. They would occasionally put like what was going to be the next single at the end of like a current music video, and I want to say, I don't know if it was on the Sugar music video, but something like that. I want to say there might have been a music video for J.O.D.D. Jump on the Dick, was just kind of within the fair. I think that was basically like the supposed going to be the 3rd single if it would have had more chart appeal. But basically the lead single is Let's Go, and this is, I recommend all 3 of the singles just to say that, but Let's Go is, like I was saying, Trick Daddy's highest charting single, so it's definitely one of the most immediate ones to go for if you're new to Trick Daddy, just in the pitch, or just don't know his full bound about him. But I definitely say here that Let's Go is like a great new take and spin on like Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne, some pitches like that. Just has that same riffage from like that 1980 hit, or not, yeah, I think it was 1980, just within the pitch, just within the tone. Basically just Crazy Train with Lil Jon on there, just crunk type appeal. Lil Jon, the crunk flavor really enhances this song pretty heavily. I had to say, and it's like a big standout to kind of get here just from the pitch. So this basically is what you see, what you get with this particular song. Just basically taking Trick Daddy on like an Ozzy Osbourne song, just the appeal behind it. Energy really works pretty well. In some senses, I think folks might think this might have been like a Lil Jon song, but it's just kind of within the pitch as far as saying that basically Trick Daddy handles this song pretty well. This easily reeks of like the 2000s. This was a pretty good staple back in those days, back when Lil Jon had the Midas touch in 2004 between like the Chappelle Show stuff and the Crunk Juice album and Kings of Crunk and all that fare that he kind of dominated with. It's just another hit for the Lil Jon type fare, and just the overall aspect that Trick Daddy just got like a pretty extra type song, just to be able to have like some of that buzz and just have that nice appeal. It was just great timing overall. So it's real easy kind of highlight. I mean, this is a difficult kind of concept here. Is this is a difficult song to replicate just because Randy Rose, the guitarist for Crazy Train, particularly passed on. So it's not it wasn't as if Trick Daddy was going to be able to just keep ripping songs like that as far as those particular pitches kind of went. This is just a good timing of just nailing, like having like an interpolation or like a retake of like a previous hit song, just being able to put like a new spin and be able to tear it apart just within pitches. But it had some. It's not to say that Trick Daddy's a one-hit wonder, but he was kind of like Busta Rhymes, where he would at least get, like I was saying, one or two hits off of each particular album. But this kind of concept that usually, in some senses, when the second single didn't do as terrific, that kind of wrapped up the promotion. But usually, he would have at least one huge staple that would always do great, just like with Thugs R Us from 2001. It was I'm a Thug, and then I guess I could. It was In the Wind and Thug Holiday from 2002. Back by Thug Demand had that song with Chameleonaire, Back by Thug Demand from 2006 had the song Bet That with Chameleonaire. So it's just some pitches that you'd always get one per album, and usually just approximately two. But just within pitch, excellent type song, definitely highlight. Sugar Give Me Some is the second single. Now the music video, if you see the music video, this song basically has Lil Kim on there, and that's probably more photogenic, I would have to say, just in the pitch compared to Ludacris being on there as far as those pitches kind of happen. But it's just within the pitch as far as saying that Ludacris really tears apart this song. This is probably Ludacris back in 2004, every guest verse that he was doing, like songs like Usher's Yeah and Sierra's Oh, some of those type of pitches, and other ones like that he was on. I can't really think is full bound, but he did a bunch of like guest verses in 2004. They were definitely like pretty much this would be an easy kind of highlight streak to kind of go on, is just to look up some of the guest verses that Ludacris did in 2004 and realize some of that, because he definitely Ludacris was definitely in his prime 2004, 2005 pitches like that. Just the Red Light District era, Chicken and Beer era, I'd have to say. But Sugar Give Me Some is a mostly kind of underappreciated second single, and this did chart pretty heavily. I want to say this is like a top 25 single, so it's not like this was just like one that didn't chart that well. It's kind of within the pitch that Trick Daddy got a great 1-2 punch with this particular album. This is one that kind of got the appeal behind it and did make some relative radio noise. Like I was saying, Ludacris shreds the song. Trick Daddy handles this song pretty well. He gets pretty buck nasty on some of these particular songs on here. Songs like Sugar Give Me Some, Jump on the Deck, Menage a Trois are definitely some ones where Trick Daddy kind of has that Trina aspect where he gets buck nasty on some of these particular type songs. Just that vulgar type appeal, that particular was that sort of aspect. Trick Daddy was pretty good at that, kind of similar to Plies and Devin the Dude, I'd have to say. But this is like a boppish kind of radio appeal about this one. This is like a surprise hit here. This is real Apple type one, when normally it just was kind of here and there some of the second single type appeal. But this is what made this album kind of go gold. It's just the impact of this, the surprise hit of this particular song. It's good aspect, great timing, and just excellent type fares for that. And like I was saying, the third single, Wikipedia doesn't list nowadays, but I think back in late 2004, mid 2005 or so, it was Jump on the Deck. And I think there was, like I was saying, like a music video for it. But this is like this. I do believe that this is the Jump on the Dick was basically the third single. This is like a great kind of keeps the commotion going kind of third single to kind of get here. Just nice buzz noise and club hop carnage kind of have within that tone. This is definitely a heater. This is just an easy type one. It's a good secret song to kind of play just within the concept where most folks probably wouldn't as commonly know about this song. It has like that relative type jump aspect about it, just being able to say that, compared once the summer energy of Sugar gets kind of dull and the overplayed ratio of Let's Go gets kind of tiresome, this is just a good extra kind of secret aspect to kind of have within some of that tone, of just being able to have some more moments that kind of get the flavor going, but just within a tone of not being as commonplace. So it's just a good, nice one. It's like a good extra bounty for some of that, and it does have that relative snap and appeal. There's like a chick on the song. It's not Trina. It might be Jackie O. I'm not really sure. It's Kia. So I was thinking it was Jackie O, because Jackie O's from Florida, like Trick Daddy is, but it's actually a chick named Kia. Not sure, I don't know as much full bound about her, but I would have to say it's a good type tone for that. Yeah, overall that disc is the real gnarled and kind of disc, like frenetic, kind of like wiry kind of beat as far as those pitches can have about Jump on the Dick. This real nice one, this real dark and murky, I'd have to say about that one. But yeah, like I was saying, so basically out of 15 songs this album, not counting the 2 skits, there's 17 songs in here, like I was saying, but minus the 2 skits, it'd be narrowed down to 15. Out of the 15, I wound up recommending 12. So 3 songs I don't recommend on here would be the Children's Song, Forever, and Down with the South. So basically these type ones, the Children's Song is just like a worse variation of songs like I'm a Thug. Trick Daddy kind of was somewhat kid oriented on some of these type of albums. He does have like some kid centric type stuff. Not to say like there's a problem with that. It's just not every single one of these kind of works when they're intended for not just folks that are like 11, 12, 13, but more folks that might be 7, 8, 9, just more in like early grade school, first, second, third grade pitches like that. It's like the initial kind of moments of getting into rap. I mean, I don't want to say it's full bound that he was like someone that was kind of like a gateway musician within that tone, but I think definitely the aspect as far as saying that if you do have the concept of knowing about like super laddies and kind of youngins within the aspect, these are some ones on there. But this one, I feel like I Want to Sing is an affable one that just nails that particular vibe better. Some of the vibes of like I'm a Thug, I Want to Sing, some of those type of ones, but this is just one children's song just didn't nail it that well. Forever, just the song Forever kind of had an awkward type production on here. This probably had the worst production off this particular album, I'd have to say. It was just really one that just didn't really hit the ground running whatsoever. I'd have to say it was just kind of a poor type one, which is interesting because it was trying to be like a summer fright type one. This is a relative glaze. I mean, this is almost be like a song I feel like you could listen to where you're just kind of stuck a little bit. It's kind of like a typical kind of date afternoon, some of those type of pitches. Just something for like a relative. But it just kind of feels more of like awkward type fare, just kind of, well, that just happened type appeal more so than just the aspect of really anything of much like real something with like some venom about it. Just I feel like songs that with that like that summer fare, like These Are the Days and Thugs About and Sugar, especially some of those type of ones, and Ain't a Thug, some of those type of vibes just nailed that summer kind of glazed aspect just a little bit better. It just was not quite as hitting compared to some of these other summer type tunes on here, which Trick Daddy in most senses on this particular album nails like the Tupac from 1996 vibes when you think of like Thug Life, the Thug Life from 94, and the All Eyes on Me from 96, some of those type fares, songs like Hit 'em Up and Thug Passion, Ambitions as the Ride, some of those type pitches of typical kind of Tupac 96 riding. Trick Daddy really nails that mostly kind of energy on here, but the Forever was just one that didn't. And then Down with the South had a lot of good big names on here. Trina and the Yin Yang Twins, for example, and then this cat or these cats called Deuce Comrades. But the unfortunate thing about it is just the tone, that just as far as saying that this was just like a worse variation of the song Fucking Around. It was just kind of one that just didn't have the same appeal and overall aspect behind it. It was just trying to be like a pounding type one, just with an aspect of just having like some blitzing kind of in your face type club heat. But like I said, it's just a worse variation of Fuck Around with T.I. and Jeezy and some of those type folks on that particular song. Just really didn't have the same bite towards it. But so yeah, I'm gonna give this album basically like a 9.5 out of 10. I almost feel like it deserves like a higher score just to the impact. I mean, there's a lot of great songs in here just in the pitch behind it, but it's just kind of like it's arguable type range as to whether or not this album should get a 10 out of 10, just the fact that there's only 3 songs out of 15 on here. I feel like it's impactful enough, but it is kind of within the fair as far as saying I think possibly it probably should have been 13 out of 15 as far as those pitches can have. But I just look, and it's not to be within the greed aspect behind it, but this is kind of the tone. I don't know. Sometimes when I recommend 12 out of 15, I would almost say that's like a 10 out of 10. Kind of depends on the impact of singles. I feel like this is probably Trick Daddy's most impactful type album. It's just within the aspect that it's just kind of, there's just, I guess it would almost have to come down to like the ranking of some of the songs that have the quality on here. When you think of some of these type of ones, it's just, unless you have like Bellas with like Seeds that kind of enjoy your company pitches like that, I Want to Sing is not as much of a full bound song to really listen to in like a super kind of commonplace ratio. And then I would say like Fucking Around is a good song, but it's not like 10 out of 10, like the most immediate aspect of how often I'd listen to that one. So I'd just say, approximately just 9.5 out of 10. It's still pretty severe about it. But let's get to some of these on here. So I Cry is a nice one. This has Ron Isley on the hook and background vocals. Real excellent type song here. It's like a great Thugs Cry 2 kind of malaise, kind of get within that tone. Real excellent personal hit to kind of have in like a good rumination, I would definitely have to say here. Great Isley cameo, like I was saying. This is just a hazy funk of a song kind of have. So just kind of a glumish type song, just kind of more slumped this aspect just about it, but really nails the appeal behind it. Just real excellent type fare. Pretty much continue highlighting this, just one with some extra character with that same sort of Thugs Pain type concept that like Tupac implies and some of those type folks who kind of do within those aspects. Real nice one. Has a great guitar riffage on there, just real nice tone. Menage a Trois is an excellent highlight as well. This is a pretty nice one. Now this one has most kind of appeal, but I kind of feel like the aspect behind it, like it's a little bit like it's kind of somewhat of like a campy type song just within the pitch behind it. I realize that in terms it's more of like a hardcore rap type song more so than the full bound type appeal compared to songs like Sugar, Jump on the Dick, Let's Go, some of those type ones. I feel like there's kind of some ones that kind of somewhat drift into hardcore rap type territory just because there's not as many big names on here. Some of the folks on the song like Trick Daddy only has like one verse on this particular song, and Smoke from Field Mob's on here, which is pretty good pitch, but then there's some, you know, Jazzy Faye, and this has some mild kind of hardcore aspects about it, but this is still a stellar kind of summery ladies hop and dope kind of ode to three ways. I would definitely say about this particular song here. A good concert for that, and it's like a basic kind of club bounce about this particular one. And it slams pretty good just in the pitch behind it. I mean, just the aspect is kind of like a secret type song, maybe not as secret within the tone as much of immediate type appeal as Jump on the Deck, and Gangsta Living's a real nice one for that as well. And I'd also say These Are the Days are some nice ones that kind of have that bounce about it, but it's just kind of within the ones. It's kind of middle of the road in terms of like the affability. It just depends upon, you just have to read the room as far as to how much people are kind of digging the Trick Daddy project to figure out. I mean, it's definitely, you know, three-way songs are definitely good to have in supply as far as those pitches can have them, but it's just within the tone that this is not like the defining three-way song as far as those pitches can happen, but it is a good song. It just has some good bounce about it. It's a good apple type one to kind of have like some extra type fare. It's good type pitch for that. Real immediate, pretty good highlight on here would be Gangsta Livin', though. This really has like a vicious type beat, one of the best on the album, I'd have to say. It's like a nice, murky, and shrouded kind of venue commotion kind of get here. Great demon time energy, I'd say, about this song. It's good for some snackage and outs as far as those pitches can happen. Just a Florida-driven type version of the sort of stuff that 3-6 Mafia kind of does. This feels just amongst like the night fare, just anything after about 6:30 p.m. as the sun's starting to set, some of that type goodness. Just the concept of this picking up like snack cakes and Chex Mix, some of that type fare, getting frozen burritos, getting slice of pizza, something like that, getting some lighters and swishers, some of that type fare back with some of that good type stuff, just in the aspect, just kind of out and about, just amidst like the night wind and pitches like that. It's a real nice concept for that. It's real, just pretty quick paced type song, just some quick living as far as those pitches kind of happen, just good aspect behind that. It's just a good example like the thug life type mentality that Trick Daddy carries off this particular project, just really nails the appeal behind it. You Never Know is a real nice one as well. Now this is like a real brooding type one. This is probably one of the best songs on the album. Once again, this one's not as immediate. Some of the more club hop type ones are the more sociable type ones, but this one does have like a great paranoia on here. You Never Know is like an excellent kind of shrouded and contemplative kind of heat to kind of get within that pitch behind it. This reminds of like Tupac Paranoia, I'd have to say. Some of those type ones like Death Around the Corner from like Me Against the World, some of those type of pitches, and other type ones that he would kind of do around that aspect. Songs like, yeah, just typical kind of Me Against the World, All Eyes on Me, Tupac, Paranoia, I'd say, and it's like a great, and this has some great song content about it, so it's just an excellent type aspect for some of that type of, just real shrouded type song, kind of get within that tone. Trick Daddy nails the appeal of some of this, and this is just some excellent songwriting. So the thing about this particular album is just the fact that Trick Daddy has some real great songwriting on here. Despite the fact that I was saying I would give this album a 9.5 out of 10, I still feel like within the pitch behind it, there's just some moments on here, songs like These Are the Days, I Cry, You Never Know, Gangsta Livin', Jump on the Deck, Sugar, Give Me Some. A lot of these aspects are pretty banner and just kind of state of the art when it comes to like 2000s kind of southern rap and pitches like that. I mean, it's kind of vanilla with this. This is like a vanilla kind of southern album within the pitch behind it. But the thing about these songs is they're pretty just like candy-like within the pitch of just being treats and just overall goodies just within the appeal of what they particularly nail about it. They just kind of have like a more kind of just like typical kind of aspect about them and like just a good kind of sense. This is like, you know, when you think of Eminem being vanilla, this is kind of like some southern rap that just kind of has some banner type stuff about it. So there just probably would have been like one or so more hit song, or one or two more songs that just would have had just a little bit more full-blown kind of immediate factor with more appeals of like songs like These Are the Days, I Cry, You Never Know, Gangsta Livin', Jump on the Dick, some of those type of pitches. I definitely say this probably would be pretty much like a 10 out of 10. It's just an aspect behind it. But yeah, I don't know if I talk about These Are the Days, but this is a nice one here. It's like a hazy kind of summer basic romps, kind of get within that tone, just typical kind of thug life type. These Are the Days, like typical kind of thug life, summer living to kind of get within that tone. This song definitely reminds of like 96 Tupac or even 93 Tupac. Some of those type fairs are like I Get Around or like Thug Passion, some of those type romps just with the pitch behind it. Like All Eyes on Me, the title track, some of those type pitches, Picture Me Rolling, some of those type fairs, just in the aspect. This reminds of just like typical kind of cruise arounds pitches like that, California hot weather, or even Southern fried Florida, Miami weather pitches like that, just in the aspect of this. 90s Tupac, just in the aspect, shirt off type music, just out in the heat, 85 degrees or more pitches like that, some of that type fair, swisher in your ear, something like that, just really feeling good. It's a good aspect about that. Ain't a Thug with Trey songs is a pretty nice one as well. It's like a glazed kind of evening, summer, pondering kind of get here. Just one of those type ones that just like, why do I live the way I do? Why do I do these things? Just from the pitch, just that typical kind of thug life ponder that folks like Tupac and Plies would kind of do. This from the aspect of just like some basic kind of, I mean, it's kind of vanilla rumination within the pitch behind it, but it's just kind of it's a thought-provoking one that doesn't get too deep, but it simmers enough to kind of have the aspect as far as just saying like, this has that relative appeal, just having a little bit more than just the typical kind of workaday thug as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just the song simmers, like I was saying, it's like a smoke a joint, kind of bask in the hot weather, kind of frolic to kind of get within that tone. So just some further summer romps as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just kind of backyard type smoke, it's just pondered type within that fair. Have a lemonade, some pitches like that. Just basic kind of BZ extra fair kind of have just around the aspects of just kind of the typical kind of relatively quick living, but just a little bit slowed down within the pitch behind it. Just some good kickback, just good tone for that. Thugs About is another one that kind of has that relative type pitch as well. Just another summer romp, just another summer heater. That's like some basic kind of warm weather cruise around to kind of get within that pitch. I definitely had to say typical kind of Monday, Tuesday errands. I'd have to say in romps definitely it's a good song to toke to once again. I'd say Thugs About just feels like a jazzy fade type beat, something that relative type fair, or more like a big timer song, something that Manny Fresh or Jazzy Fade would have kind of done within those pitches. It's real summery and breezy, just with an aspect about it. It's basic kind of cruise type music, kind of get within that tone. Just typical kind of standard brush as far as those pitches can happen. Just some summer brush, I'd have to say. Fucking Around. I don't know if I talked about Fucking Around, but I'll talk about this one as far as those pitches can happen. Now, this is a nice, I think I talked about the other song, Down with the South. Fucking Around's the better version of that particular song. Fucking Around with Jeezy, T.I., and an extra cat on there, which is Case, who I'm not sure as to who that particularly is, but Fucking Around is like a brash and in-your-face kind of club pounder to kind of get here. Just a good posse cut, definitely, and it's like a high-octane kind of 2000s club thunder to kind of get within that pitch. So this one reeks a little bit more of 2000s type fare. This is another more in like the hardcore territory type one. It's like Menage a Trois, I'd have to say. Is this kind of one where I just would kind of pay attention to the aspect as to how much Trick Daddy's kind of having the appeal behind him. It is a good song, but it's not one of the most immediate ones compared to some of the ones that just feel like standouts and kind of more, they're going to have that more casual consumption about them, I'd have to say. Just in terms of bops, they're just more than just being like a super hardcore fan of Trick Daddy within those pitches. I feel like songs like Fucking Around, Menage a Trois, and probably like maybe songs like Forever kind of have that particular pitch about it. But I definitely say some of the immediate ones I would go for, apart from like the singles, at least like the two largest singles, Let's Go and Sugar, I'd have to say, like I was saying, Jump on the Dick's a real nice one for some immediate type fare in terms of like a relative kind of new sense, I'd have to say. Gangsta Living's kind of like that. I'd say These Are the Days is a pretty nice one. And like a relative aspect, just within, if folks kind of enjoy like the Tupac Plies kind of thug life kind of vibe, I'd say Ain't a Thug's a pretty nice one. Thugs About is like a nice cruise around just for some Aaron type music within that fair. And some ones like that, I'd say probably You Never Know is like some Tupac kind of Paranoia, I'd say. So there just are some extra ones on here. It's actually a pretty packaged type album within the pitch. Definitely has those bonus kind of cuts on here. It's not trite, I'd have to say, just in the pitch. But then, like, I didn't talk about I Want to Sing either, but this is another nice one. This is like a musical kind of like, I Want to Sing is like a musical like and real chipper kind of laddie music to kind of get here. And by laddie, I just mean like the young lads pitches, like that elementary school kids, some of those type fairs as far as those pitches kind of happen. It's definitely good for like Bella's Seeds as far as those pitches kind of go. Just, you know, chicas in your life that kind of have young kids about them as far as those pitches kind of happen. This is like a good vanilla romp to kind of get here. Just typical kind of picnic type music, this Sunday type music, Sunday, Monday type music, beginning of the week. This kind of, I would say, relatively drug-free type fare. Just say relatively drug-free type fare, just in the pitch behind it. Just feeling a little bit more of like pastel type music. One of those type of days where you'd wear like a sweater around your neck as far as those pitch can happen, but you're not wearing the sweater, but it's just kind of wrapped around your neck like you would think of like a typical kind of like artiste type person as far as those pitches can happen to something a little bit more just kind of chipper, gung-ho, and just more like, this would almost say healthy within the pitch. Just kind of the aspect. I mean, but Trick Daddy handles it within the aspect of keeping like that thug type edge. I don't think he'd be one of those folks that would wear a sweater like that around his neck. But just the concept of just being able to say is something with a little bit more public relations type factor and like an edge with like a kind of somewhat glazed kind of thug life type edge just within the pitch behind. But it works for that sort of pitch. It's good type tone. Not every artist has these particular type songs that are more intended for like kid-centric type stuff, so it's a good pitch for that. And just relatively happens to be appeal. So I think I talked about every song I recommend on here as far as those pitches kind of happen. So yeah, this album gets a 9.5 out of 10. The social score I'll go ahead and give a 10 out of 10. I'm just gonna go ahead and say the social score would, well, basically social score I would probably give like a 9.75 out of 10. Just really on the cusp of being a 10. I just would say it's pretty much almost there. This is a pretty packaged album, like I was saying. Has the Tupac kind of appeal, that same sort of thug life, kind of 96 living as far as those pitches kind of happen. A lot of summery type romps, just shirt off type music, summer cruise rounds, pitches like that. That same sort of energy. That just is like some great summer type fare, and just pitches like that. Has some great song topics on here, some great songwriting, some of that type fare, some extra kind of moments like I Cry, You Never Know, and Ain't a Thug, some of those type moments that just kind of have the aspect of just some extra type character as far as those pitches kind of happen. Some immediate songs on here, some good venue noise, songs like Gangsta Livin', Jump on the Dick, Sugar, Menage a Trois, some of those type pitches, and like in certain senses like Fucking Around and definitely Let's Go, some of those type pitches, You Never Know, some of those type ones. Just in the aspect, has some good social type fares. Just the aspect that there are a small handful of songs on here that have more hardcore type senses, songs like Fucking Around and Menage a Trois, and songs like Forever, some of those type of pitches that just kind of have more appeal, or it may just be relatively questionable as to how full bound that these would kind of be as much gelling with folks as far as like the full bound pitch compared to some of the more immediate type ones. You may find yourself listening to the more kind of standard and typical type songs by Trick Daddy more so than extra type fare within certain senses. But I mean, this album has the packaging of it. It's just kind of like typical folks like Lil Wayne, Plies, folks like that, just in the pitch, Tupac, even within those pitches, that it has the hits on here, it has extra hits if you're looking more deeply for things, but it's just kind of, it does have more than one or two hits in terms of like casual type fare as well as far as those pitches can have. It's just on the cusp just within it, so basically 9.75. In terms of the future, like Trick Daddy's not really been around since like the early 2010s as far as pitches like that can happen, and I'm actually not sure if he's even been around since the 2000s. Last album I remember him being around on was in 2009, and even that album was not that particularly large as far as those pitches can happen. He kind of burnt out after about 2006, was backed by Thug Demand, was just within the pitch. Is what I'd say. This is pretty much one of Trick Daddy's apex. This is on the virtual cusp of being a classic, just in the pitch behind it. There might be some extra albums as far as those fares can happen. This is definitely one to check out, just within the fair. Virtual classic here, just would say within the impact. A lot of good songwriting pitches like that in summer. A lot of good songwriting on here, and a lot of good Tupac kind of summer 96 thug life type fare.